Hello humans, I'm Yoshiller, and welcome back to some more The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Or rather, I should say, welcome to the final part of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. In the previous part, I finished the Champion's Ballad. I took on the final trial, I took on the final divine beast, I heard the final portion of Cass's song, he gave me a picture of the champions, and I imagine once I boot up my save file right here, Cass will be gone, but that's okay. Also, at the end of the previous parts, I gained access to the Hylian Cycle Zero, or I'm sorry, the Master Cycle Zero. It's a motorcycle, you can see it on the loading screen right there. And now I can use this to kind of just drive around most of Hyrule. Ah, here we are, what a beautiful view to start things off. And I suppose it's fitting that this beautiful view appears in the last part of this walkthrough because it appeared in the first part of this walkthrough. Here I am, back at the Great Plateau, specifically back at the Shrine of Resurrection here with my Master Cycle Zero. So I've done everything in this game, guys, but there is one final thing I could do. When I started this Champion's Ballad, I had to take on 4, well, I guess they were just shrines, just like any old shrine throughout this game. But the shrines here on the Great Plateau were fun. And like any other shrine in this game, it gave me a spirit orb every time I completed one. And with 4 spirit orbs, I can cash them in to get some goodies. So I figured I'll go ahead back over here to the Temple of Time, I believe it's called. It's been a while since I've actually had a need to go to this place. Here we go, the Temple of Time. I'll go ahead and cash in my spirit orbs, although I will ride my motorcycle in because why not? This is the only part where I'm really going to be using it. So there we go. Nice Master Cycle. Yes. I'm going to go ahead and cash in my spirit orbs for another heart container. And then, I guess there's only so many things I can do for a finale of this walkthrough where I've already done everything. I mean, I already went to Hyrule Castle and fought Ganon and all that. But I figured the most appropriate thing I can do for a final part of this walkthrough, especially for a walkthrough that's taken me 2.5 years to complete, is to just kind of recollect and think of all the stuff that I've done throughout my time with this game. But first things first, let me pray to this statue, let me cash in my 4 spirit orbs, and let me get another heart container. Because as far as I'm concerned, my stamina vessel was maxed out. I didn't even think I'd get 4 more spirit orbs, but yeah, about 4 parts ago, I got them. Here we go. Yeah. I remember my first heart container. Remember when I only had like 3 hearts? Ah, good times. There we go. I don't think there's a way to have 2 more hearts, but this'll do. I'm glad I could get a spirit orb, or I'm glad I could cash in my spirit orbs with all this DLC armor on. It's kind of silly. Alright, folks, here's what I'm going to do. When you purchase the DLC for this game, or rather, I don't even think you have to purchase this part. When the game was updated to have DLC, there was a feature that was added to the game that allows you to see the route you took throughout the game. So, I've 100%ed the map, I've visited every single part, I've collected every single Korok seed, I've taken on every single side quest. There you go. Woof! That's my route. But I can actually have the game play out my route. So what I'm thinking is, because this is the final part of this walkthrough, I'll go ahead and have the game play this out. And while it plays out, I'll go ahead and have this be zoomed into the corner of the screen or something. I don't exactly know how it's going to look, but it'll play in the corner of the screen. While the main focus of this video will have me drive to Hyrule Castle and fight Ganon again, while I go ahead and just explain my overall thoughts throughout this walkthrough and my time with this game. And at least this way you have something visually appealing to look at while I talk about random stuff that's unrelated to the gameplay. So, here we go. Where to begin? Well, I guess I should start with the beginning, of course. Man, it's like sounding like a documentary, but no, this is just kind of a mind dump. Just want to relax. I have a few things I want to discuss, but nothing's really scripted. But yeah, my walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is finally coming to a close. And I knew going into this game that this walkthrough would be long. Very long. That was the selling point of this game, was that it was going to be big. So naturally, recording a walkthrough for this game would take a long time. And I initially estimated that the walkthrough would be approximately 100 parts. But I had no idea that the whole game would take me nearly 3 years to complete. And I mean, I have nobody to blame but myself for that. This walkthrough began back when the Nintendo Switch first released back in March of 2017. And here I am, only just now finishing it here in September of 2019. So I figured now would be a good time to reflect on some of the things that I learned from making this walkthrough, and I figured now would be a good time to discuss why I'm only just now completing it. So, this walkthrough, this Breath of the Wild series on my channel, this 100% completion guide, whatever you want to call it, it is far from the best series on my channel. Nowhere close to my favorite series on my channel, and while it is the longest series on my channel, it is far from the best. I have my fair share of regrets with this walkthrough, but it's been a learning process. Going into this walkthrough, I wanted my reactions to be blind and fresh. That was my main selling point, was that I would do this whole game, or at least most of it, without knowing what was ahead. And I've done my fair share of walkthroughs on my channel for games that I knew thoroughly, both big and small, and I wanted to take up the opportunity to record my first reaction to everything in a game that was just so massive, because when else would I have the opportunity to do that, or at least when else would I have the opportunity to do that for a game that I was at least interested in? Because I know that there are a lot of huge games out there, but I don't typically play those huge games. I fear of putting the game down and getting lost when I don't play it for a while, which kind of happened here, but thankfully I was making a walkthrough, so I was able to see what I had and hadn't done. And, you know, this walkthrough had pros and cons to it. In everything being new to me, I couldn't exactly be as thorough as I wanted. If I knew the game layout beforehand, I would have planned certain things out much differently. I would have visited shrines in a more optimal order, and I would have done side quests at more convenient times, and heck, the order in which I would have done things most in the game, or mostly throughout the game, would have been drastically different than how this walkthrough turned out. So this is far from the best walkthrough out there. It is a walkthrough. That is what it is. It will show you a way to beat the game, but there are probably more thorough guides out there, I acknowledge. And as I neared the end of this walkthrough, there were certain things that I had to look up, namely the location of the last shrine or two, and of course, there was a side quest that I missed that I eventually covered in part 101 of this walkthrough, and I did have to look up the Korok Seed locations, but I imagine everyone had to look up Korok Seed locations, so I don't feel as bad about that one. But yeah, this game is big, so I tried to make things somewhat easy for viewers to navigate in case they wanted to see how to conquer a specific shrine or how to finish a certain side quest, and as such, many of the video descriptions and video thumbnails for my series were often cluttered with information, and because I'd sometimes do so much in one part, that would often make things even harder to navigate for the viewer. So I tried to make things simple, and in trying to make things simple, I made things complicated, and I even wanted to try and incorporate my walkthrough with some sort of website or wiki or interactive map, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I hope that my walkthrough can actually be of some assistance to somebody out there, but as it stands, I acknowledge that my walkthrough could have been much better to navigate and much simpler overall. But you know what? I'm very glad to be done with this walkthrough. I've been tied to this game for a while, and the constant thought process in my head as I recorded this walkthrough was that I didn't want to cancel this series. I wanted to prove that I could complete such a massive game. And sure, it is a pride thing, but this was also my first Nintendo Switch walkthrough. I had a lot of fresh viewers come to my channel so that they could catch up on the latest Nintendo Switch crazes. So I wanted to prove to my fans that I wanted to finish what I started regardless of how big or how tedious the task was. And while I have canceled walkthroughs in the past, I usually canceled them pretty early on. In this case, it was more important to me that I finish this walkthrough than if I just pushed it aside because I got bored. Because after doing, 40 parts, my logic was, well, I've already done 40 parts of this walkthrough, I may as well finish it. Well, I've already done 70 parts of this walkthrough, I may as well finish it. Well, I've already done 100 parts of this walkthrough, I may as well finish it, so on and so forth. And, many of my viewers did get bored, and rightfully so. When a walkthrough lasts 119 parts over 2 years, I understand that many viewers are just ready to move on to the next game. And as a result, the views on my channel tanked. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, at this point in my time, in my YouTube career, my viewership is at the lowest it has ever been at. So Breath of the Wild did cause some damage to my channel. But like I said, this was a learning experience. Now I know that maybe I shouldn't do such a massive game again, and if I do such a massive game again, I should go into it better expecting what I should do. I should take a lot of notes from creating these Breath of the Wild videos. Plus, most parts in this walkthrough were over 40 minutes long, with some parts being over an hour long. That really shouldn't be normal, and that's part of the reason why videos came out inconsistently, was because I knew a part would take an hour to just record, so I had to dedicate an hour of my time to sitting down, recording it, letting the video export, and then just kind of cutting out the dull moments. And not that these videos were super editing intensive, at least not most of them, I don't want that to be normal. I don't want the idea for me to have to sit down and record for an hour to only let that lead to one part that's not even that special be the norm for my channel. But for the sake of convenience, I kept many topics in one video, such as an entire Divine Beast or an entire side quest, so it just felt weird to cut things off in the middle. If this was uploaded to YouTube back in the day before people could upload videos over 15 minutes, I'd have no choice, I'd have to cut things off. But I like the idea of one entire topic being in one video, one entire Divine Beast, or one entire village's side quests. I just like that, I prefer that, and if the video is an hour long, so be it. I tried to balance things out by putting timestamps in the description to try and make things easier for the viewer. I did what I could, but I guess just going forward, I have to be better about this type of stuff. I acknowledge that my viewers don't want to watch hour-long videos, at least not regularly. Like, if it was a once-in-a-while thing, I guess it would make more sense. But, yeah, this game was practically a recipe for messing up my view counts. Taking 2.5 years to do, parts being over an hour long being the norm. Nothing super fancy, nothing super memorable. There were funny moments, sure, but because I was going into this game blind, I don't really have many funny stories to tell. The main humor from this game just came out of my reactions, and I didn't always have a drastic reaction to everything in the game, because sometimes a video would just be me exploring a new territory, and sometimes it'd be fun, and sometimes it would just be like, okay, that's cool. Perhaps if I did finish this entire walkthrough in 2017, things would have been better. And while that may have been possible if I just sat down and buckled up and recorded everything in this game, I did still want to keep some diversity on my channel. I was trying to balance Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, and Pokemon Ultra Sun, and then I was also traveling a bit too. Combine that with working a full-time job, and you can imagine that Breath of the Wild started to get more and more sidelined. In 2017, I did 76 videos for Breath of the Wild. Within that time, I conquered every shrine and I got the Master Sword, so I got a lot done in the first year. And then in 2018, I did 24 videos. Those were part 77 to part 100. And then when I did part 100, I took a major break. And now here we are in 2019, and I'm ending the walkthrough at part 119, so that means that 19 videos came out in 2019. So it's 76 videos for 2017, 24 videos for 2018, 19 videos for 2019. Plus one more bonus video of all my deaths in the game. I had that game over counter for a reason. But yeah, I definitely slowed down with the production of this walkthrough as time went on, but at least I can say it's finally over. I took on 120 shrines, I collected 900 Korok seeds, I took on over 70 side quests, I explored 100% of the map, I finished everything in both DLC packs, which consisted of over nearly 60 floor challenges in the Master Sword Trials and nearly 6 hours of map exploration in the Champion's Ballad. I showcased Amiibo, I collected horses, I found all the memories within the game, and I collected every piece of equipment that exists within this game, including the Hylian Shield. This walkthrough, in terms of overall length, is 3 days, 17 hours, and approximately 24 minutes in length, or just under 90 hours. My overall in-game time was 190 hours, making it my most played game on the Switch, but that might quickly be surpassed by games like Splatoon 2 and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And I cut out a fair share of stuff in this walkthrough, and I sped up even more stuff, so I guess along the lines, 100 hours of gameplay have been swapped out of this walkthrough. In terms of completed exported video files, there is approximately 500 gigabytes worth of data just sitting on one of my hard drives. I like to back up my videos, and Breath of the Wild takes up 500 gigabytes worth of space. In terms of raw video files, you could nearly double that. These files would get so big that I don't have most of the raw video files anymore, so I can't tell you how many files and how much storage it took to create the entire walkthrough overall. But the most intense part of this walkthrough, which was the Korok seed hunt back in part 106, took up 422 gigabytes worth of space across 50 different files that totaled out to be about 60 hours in length. So to make that one video, I had to dig through 60 hours of gameplay, and I tried to make things easier for myself so I could quickly figure out where I got each Korok seed. But in addition to making that video, I had to go back through all my previous parts and figure out where I collected Korok seeds. So, theoretically speaking, if we were to combine the amount of raw files that it took to create the rest of the walkthrough, which is probably double the size of the amount of space that my exported files have, we're talking about using 1 terabyte of footage to create this entire walkthrough. 1 entire terabyte. That's 1,024 gigabytes. That's huge, in case you guys don't know. You can't easily, well, I guess in today's day and age you can easily buy a terabyte, but it's a lot of space, trust me. There was also the process of creating thumbnails. Those don't take up a whole lot of space, but that does take up space in the grand scheme of things. So there's probably a gigabyte worth of thumbnail data on here. And 3 pieces of art were created in order to showcase the growth of Link and myself over the course of the series, and those pieces of art were used on the video thumbnails. So they were all drawn by a user known as No Raishio. She did a great job, and you know, it's kind of cool to have all these thumbnails and see the artwork kind of change over time. Otherwise, for the rest of this walkthrough, not that there was much else to do, but I did everything besides draw the artwork. I edited all the videos, I recorded everything, I made the thumbnails, I did the Korok Seed montage, I did all that. But let me leave with some positive stuff about this walkthrough. Besides just learning things, I did enjoy this game. At least I enjoyed most of it. While I didn't enjoy collecting the Korok Seeds, and while I didn't enjoy 1 or 2 side quests, I still think that this game is fantastic. The overall concept of being able to explore the world in any order and conquer shrines however you feel is absolutely incredible. And in my defense, because the game is based around that core idea, doing things in any order, that makes me so glad that I recorded my initial experience with this game. I imagine that everyone's playthrough in this game will be different, so I'm glad that I was able to document mine. And while I didn't do things in the most optimal order, I'm glad that I recorded my first experience with the game because it does show what a newbie beginner player would do. And I think that has a fun charm to it in and of itself. And, you know, this game is very pretty. So it helps to be able to use footage of this game in the background of my other videos. This game is gorgeous. It's so pretty. You can pause the game at almost any time, take a snapshot, and hang up the snapshot as a painting in a house. I technically did stuff like that. I mean, I didn't hang up a painting in a house, but I had to take a lot of snapshots so that I could create thumbnails for this walkthrough, and each snapshot was beautiful. I just had to make sure that the snapshot worked in conjunction with the rest of the thumbnail since, as I previously established, they were often cluttered, so a lot of snapshots that I wanted to use didn't quite work well for a thumbnail, and I had to make sure that the snapshot I was using properly conveyed what I was doing in that part without spoiling too much. And now, this walkthrough is over, and I can safely say that this is one of my favorite games of all time. And that's coming from a guy that doesn't typically play Zelda games, though I acknowledge that Breath of the Wild is quite different from most Zelda games, and that's coming from a guy that doesn't usually play these big open world type games. But I adored this game. I'm glad I bought it, I'm glad I completed it, and I'm glad I walked through it. And after many game delays and after many showcases at events, it's evident that these Nintendo developers and designers poured their hearts into this game. They knew they had great ideas, and they conveyed them brilliantly. As an aspiring game designer, this game taught me quite a bit, and I hope that others learn some design aspect from this game too. I think the 6 years of development, or however long it took to make this game, were well worth it. And I think it's only fair that in order to give a 6-year-long game its time of day, that I make a walkthrough that takes me 2.5 years. I think that's the best way to properly showcase the game, right? This game deserves the dozens of rewards that it earned, and once again, I'm happy to have been a part of the overall Breath of the Wild experience from the very beginning. And so now, the final questions are, what's the plan from here? What's next for my channel? Well, I want to do some major revamps to my channel now that Breath of the Wild is finally over. I thought it'd be weird to do revamps in the middle of this walkthrough. I wanted to make sure that the walkthrough had some consistency throughout my time with it. So now that the walkthrough's over, I want to do a few revamps to my channel, and I think I want to record a nice, simple, short game just to cleanse my palate a bit. And that way, while that short, simple game comes out, I could actually do the revamps to my channel and see if people enjoy them. But will I record Breath of the Wild 2, or whatever the sequel will be called? At the moment, I'm in no rush to play that game. I don't think I want to wind up in a situation like this again, where I do this whole game, it takes me 2.5 years to play it, people stop caring after the first month, and then I'm just kind of stuck completing things for the sake of completing things. Breath of the Wild was a ton of fun, but I'm in no rush to dive back into this world. I think I got my fair share of time with it. But hey, never say never, as there was a time where I had no interest in recording this game either. I think I may stay away from big games for a while, or at least I'll stay away from recording them for my channel, unless I thoroughly know them first. If I'm going to go into a game blind again, then maybe I should do something smaller. But, you know, maybe Breath of the Wild 2 will come out in 2021, and maybe I'll be due for another huge game by then. I don't know. If enough people want me to do it, then maybe I'll do it. But as it stands, I need to go back to my roots and create content that's simpler and create content that I can produce more consistently. The overall takeaway from Breath of the Wild was that it was a huge learning experience for my channel. There are things I'd change if I could, there are things that I regret, and there are things that negatively impacted my channel as a whole. But overall, I'm glad I got to live this experience. And for those of you that watched this walkthrough, whether it be from the very beginning or just recently or even just this part, thank you so much for your support. It's been quite a ride, and it had to end eventually. As I keep saying, I'm glad it's over. It's kind of bittersweet. But I'm ready for the next challenge. For now, that wraps up this 100% walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I'd like to thank you all for watching. Nintendo, thank you for all the opportunities you provided for me with this game. And hey, for you viewers out there, I hope to see you all in future videos. Bye-bye, humans! And for the last time in this walkthrough, whoosh! Nope.